Fables and Fun Learning Academy. The Magic of Friendship. Chapter 1. Adventures of Best Friends. Once upon a time, in a distant land, there were three best friends named Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm. They lived in a bustling city filled with magic and wonder, and they spent their days exploring the city and going on exciting adventures together. One day, they decided to venture out into the countryside to see what they could find. They packed their bags with supplies and set off on their journey, eager to see what wonders the world had in store for them. As they walked through the lush green forests, they saw all sorts of animals running and playing. They followed a babbling brook and climbed to the top of a hill, where they saw a beautiful castle in the distance. They decided to go and explore the castle, and as they approached, they saw that it was surrounded by a moat and had tall towers and a grand entrance. They crossed the drawbridge and walked through the gates, and as they did, they felt a sense of magic in the air. They wandered through the castle and saw all sorts of wonders, tapestries and paintings, chandeliers and candelabras, and suits of armor standing guard. They saw a grand ballroom, where a group of musicians were playing, and they saw a throne room, where a king and queen were sitting on their thrones. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were fascinated by the castle and all of its treasures, and they knew they had found a truly enchanted place. They spent the day exploring and having fun, and as the sun began to set, they knew it was time to head back home. As they left the castle and walked back through the gates, they knew that they would always remember their great adventure. And they knew that there would always be more adventures waiting for them, just beyond the horizon. Chapter 2. The Enchanted Forest. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm had been best friends for as long as they could remember, and they were always up for an adventure. They had heard tales of a magical forest that lay beyond the kingdom's borders, and they were determined to explore it. One day, they packed their bags and set out on the journey. They traveled through rolling hills and sparkling streams, until they reached the edge of the forest. As they stepped into the trees, they felt a tingling sensation in their fingertips, and they knew they had entered a place of magic. They wandered through the forest, marveling at the tall trees and the strange plants that grew there. They saw all sorts of animals running and playing, and they knew they had to join in. They chased butterflies and climbed to the tops of trees, feeling free and wild. As the sun began to set, they heard a faint singing in the distance. They followed the sound and soon found themselves at the entrance to a hidden glade. They hesitated for a moment, wondering if they should go in. But their curiosity got the better of them, and they stepped into the glade. Inside, they saw a group of fairies dancing around a sparkling pool. The fairies were small and delicate, with gossamer wings and bright, shining hair. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm watched in awe as the fairies twirled and spun, their music filling the air. The fairies noticed the three friends and flew over to greet them. "Welcome to our glade," one of them said, smiling. "We are the guardians of this forest, and we have been waiting for you." Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were surprised to hear this. "Waiting for us?" they asked. "Yes," the fairies replied. "You are the ones we have been expecting. You are the ones who will help us defeat the dark sorcerer who threatens our home." Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm looked at each other, their hearts racing. They knew they had to help the fairies, and they were determined to rise to the challenge. They vowed to do whatever it took to protect the forest and its inhabitants, and they set out on their quest with renewed purpose. Chapter 3. The Enchanted Kingdom. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm had been best friends for as long as they could remember. They had always been drawn to adventure, and they were always ready for whatever came their way. One day, as they were out exploring the countryside, they came across a mysterious cave hidden in the side of a mountain. It was surrounded by a dense forest and seemed to be completely abandoned. The three friends were intrigued and decided to investigate. They made their way through the forest and soon found themselves standing at the entrance of the cave. It was dark and cold inside, and they could barely see in front of them. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm hesitated for a moment, wondering if they should go in. But their curiosity got the better of them, and they stepped into the cave, their hearts racing with excitement. As they made their way deeper into the cave, they saw all sorts of strange and wonderful things. They saw glowing crystals and sparkling jewels, and they saw strange creatures crawling on the walls. But the most amazing thing of all was the treasure that they found at the end of the cave. It was a chest filled with gold and precious jewels, and the three friends knew they had struck it rich. They were about to take the treasure and run when they heard a loud noise behind them. They turned to see a group of trolls emerging from the shadows, their eyes glowing with malice. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm knew they had to act fast. They grabbed their weapons and prepared to defend themselves, knowing that the trolls would stop at nothing to get the treasure. The battle was fierce, and for a moment, it seemed like the trolls might win. But Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were determined and brave, and they fought with all their might. In the end, they emerged victorious, and the trolls retreated back into the shadows. The three friends were exhausted but overjoyed, and they knew they had truly lived up to their motto, "No adventure is too great, no treasure is too small." They grabbed the treasure and ran out of the cave, eager to share their adventure with the world. They knew that they would always be the best of friends, and that they would always be ready for whatever adventures came their way. Chapter 4. The Final Showdown. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm knew that they had to face the Dark Wizard one final time. They spent the next few days preparing for the showdown, training and honing their skills. They knew that this would be the most dangerous adventure they had ever undertaken, and they were determined to succeed. On the day of the showdown, they set off early in the morning, determined to reach the Dark Wizard's lair before nightfall. They rode their horses through the countryside, crossing rivers and climbing mountains. As they approached the lair, they saw a group of evil goblins guarding the entrance. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm knew they had to defeat the goblins before they could face the Dark Wizard. They drew their swords and charged at the goblins, ready for battle. The goblins were no match for Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm's bravery and skill. They fought bravely, and soon the goblins lay defeated at their feet. With the goblins defeated, Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm entered the lair of the Dark Wizard. They saw the Dark Wizard waiting for them, a wicked grin on his face. "So, you've finally come to face me," the Dark Wizard sneered. "You won't leave here alive." Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm knew they had to be careful. They knew the Dark Wizard was a powerful magician, and they had to be ready for anything. They stood their ground, ready to defend themselves. The Dark Wizard attacked them with a fierce barrage of spells, but Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were ready for him. They fought back with all their might, using their magic and their swords to defend themselves. The battle raged on, with neither side gaining the upper hand. But Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were determined to defeat the Dark Wizard, and they fought on, determined to save the kingdom. In the end, it was Irfyn who landed the final blow, striking the Dark Wizard down with a powerful spell. The kingdom rejoiced as the Dark Wizard lay defeated at their feet. Irfyn, Taric, and Yavislm were hailed as heroes, and they were rewarded with treasure and honors. They returned home, grateful for their great adventure, and ready for whatever adventures came their way next.
If you want a special story or fairy tale just for you, leave a comment with the topic, characters, and any special requests you may have. We'll do our best to bring your unique tale to life.